Office of the Prime Minister is pioneering urban agriculture in Ethiopia. And recent conflicts do not reflect centuries-old tolerance and solidarity among religions. Good evening to you all. You're watching at this news hour with the news. I'm Binyam Gitana. Thank you for joining us. Now, the news in detail. Prime Minister's office has held the second round of sharing event aiming at exchanging experiences of home-growing vegetables among the participants from across the capital Addis Ababa. It was urged the urban farming activities should be sustained in order to ensure food security. Each One Feed One initiative held for the second time in the premises of Ethiopia's Prime Minister office on Monday. Tigist Nisa presents.
Cabinet Affairs Minister expressed on the occasion that the initiative mainly focuses on exchanging experience on how homegrown vegetables can be produced among the participants.
We are trying to create awareness on how fish can get produced with a very limited space and artificial pond. And we are trying to showcase how vegetables can be produced with a limited space and even on plastic bottles hanging them. Our main aim is to change the attitude saying that we only have limited space. Rather, we can use every space and spare tires to produce more vegetables.
The participants on their parts urged that they will put into practice what has been witnessed.
I'm really pleased with what I saw. We are always buying vegetables and everything from the market, and with the cost of living going high every day, but I have learned here today that I can produce homegrown fresh vegetables with a limited space in my own yard. I'm living in a government-owned house and I have produced vegetables in plastic bottles hanging them, and we are using the products for our own use. I have shared my experience to my neighbors and they are doing so, and I have seen better activities here, and I will start to put into practice starting today.
Sharing, a value embedded deeply in Ethiopia's culture, in sharing with those less fortunate is a deed that will be rewarded tenfold.
President Sahle-Work Zewde made a virtual opening remark at the World Higher Education Conference held in Barcelona, Spain. The conference discussed the Sahle-Work Commission report on the future of education chaired by President and launched in November 2021. In her remarks, the President said it is high time to call for a new social contract for education, one that can help rectify past educational and social exclusions and address uncertain features. Research and innovation are said critical to enable factors to learn together, to co-create and reimagine our futures together. Students are agents of change. Teachers and researchers can help shift the mindset that is necessary to transform education. Other news. Another news, the geopolitical sensitivity in a volatile Horn region is one of the most insightful factors for superpowers to control the region. Talking to ETV, Director of Institute for Peace and Security Studies with the Addis Ababa University, Jonas Adaye, said superpowers are alternately working to manage this upper hand in the region. Haptamwa Shagre brings up the kernel point of the discussion with him.
The Horn of Africa region consists of the countries Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia, which includes
some superpowers are showing the interest to control the socio-economic nature in the Horn region over the past many years. Director of Institute for Peace and Security Studies with Addis Ababa University, Jonas Adaye, said superpowers are alertly working to manage the upper hand in the region.
The very location of the Horn of Africa is almost self-explanatory. If you look at the very location, you can see it is a confluence point where you have Europe, you have Americas, you have Asia as a whole. It is a meeting point for all continents, literally, all continents confluencing there. Then anyone controlling that area literally controls the whole world.
The director remarked national interest is the basic reasons why these great nations decided to control the whole region by filming war wars. The unjust competition of superpowers in the Horn of Africa has created opportunities or loopholes for other nations in the Horn region to implore.
You can see war of words between the United States and that of China. And you can also see the presence of Turkey there, Russia there, NATO there, Britain, many countries. It's mainly, one can say, economic interest, so as to control Africa, if you like, in the main, and then the entire route, the geopolitics. Because as we a moment ago mentioned, when you control that area, you have upper hand in controlling the piracy as a whole. And then that competition also gives space for other powers.
The director highlighted most superpower countries are likely interested in doing business rather than helping developing countries. He stresses the inequitable competition among these developed countries have brought economic burdens to developing economies in the region.
Irrespective of the nature of the government, more interested in doing business rather than masterminding or muscle flexing of the government, but rather working with the people, investing in the people, and at the same time, of course, respecting differences without saying my way is superhighway, follow my way or you are done. No, rather getting engaged, dealing with a bit business on equal footing, respecting cultures as well. And then others would come, well, democratize your politics and liberalize your economy, otherwise you are doomed to die. So others will show, look, my ideology is better than your ideology, therefore I am more attractive to this area than you are. You can see these competitions. All of them, of course, are definitely for their individual, respective national interest. That is undeniable.
This scholar indicated maximizing cooperation among East African nations is said to be critical to control the negative impact of superpowers in the Horn region.
That was Houghton Washagri for the report. In other news, ILO report finding says a future demand for higher skill coupled with informal process that Ethiopian job seekers tend to rely on shows the increasing challenge faced by workers. ILO Ethiopia representative Alixo Musindo also said that promoting labor market opportunities in Ethiopia, particularly in the key growth sectors, is critical, noting that the labor mismatch will be quite challenging for the growth of the nation. Kasaon Jane reports.
Ethiopia is striving toward economic growth and development to elevate and ultimately eradicate poverty. The Ethiopian economy has grown with a very general growth of 8.2% during the Growth and Transformation Plans 1 and 2. Nonetheless, the economic growth has not been job-rich and the labor market has not been able to absorb the new labor force entrants in the labor market. In connection to this, in an event organized, the ILO Ethiopia director Alexio Musindo said that there seems to be a mismatch between the labor market demand and supply.
The balance between supply and demand on the labor market. So we have a lot of people who are out there in the streets looking for jobs. At the same time, we have industry saying we do not have qualified people. So how do you bridge that gap? So one is around what is coming out, is around the skill set. How do we make sure that the skills that are being supplied match the skills that are required in the industry? Second, related to that, is the question as to, these are the skills required today. What about in 5 years? How do we start supporting, or how does government start thinking of jobs that might be there in 5 years that we don't even know about today? How do you develop the skills that are required for such jobs? So we are also working around forecasting jobs that are required into the future.
During the occasion, Ministry of Labour and Social Skills State Minister Assaghir Getachew underscored that the government is undertaking a wide range of activities concerning the validation of the comprehensive assessment of the state of the labour market and migration information system across Ethiopia.
Any job seeker will have an access to register by himself using his telephone. And when we launch the system, it will work all over the areas of Ethiopia where the access of the network is available. And we have a plan to launch such system. At that moment, anybody can access our website and register himself. And the system have its own platform and software directories, so based on that he can register by himself. And in the meantime, for the time being, when we launch, we have a plan to disseminate some pieces of iPads in different waradas and to catch the total data of job seekers.
In a similar development, Sergio Carnevale also told BBC that the ILO Comprehensive Assessment Team, along with the Ministry of Labour and Social Skills of Ethiopia, has evaluated possible labour market opportunities for Ethiopian workers as well as different labour receiving countries.
An important information system simply because it can be used by different organizations for policy. It can be used by users to understand whether there are jobs or understand wages and how wages change, to understand by organizations whether they are trade unions or, for example, by employers' federation to understand the agreements that need to be done or not. On top of that, the labor market information system has different components. So you have components that come from the statistical services, where you get information around the population, how many are in the labor market, how many are coming into the labor market.
The International Labour Organization ILO depicted a rapid integrated labor market assessment, the supply side, job seekers and employees, and the demand side, enterprises and employers, for the growth of Ethiopian Ethiopians and the Gulf as well.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Addis News Hour with the headline.
The first ever General Assembly of the Prosperity Party has been going on over the past 3 days.
Thank you for joining me here at the United Nations Economic Commission for
KTV English will bring you fresh stories on the diplomatic arena. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Addis News Hour. Now moving to another news story. Recent conflicts exhibited in the name of religion in Ethiopia do not reflect the centuries-old tolerance and solidarity among religion. Speaking to EBC, Pastor Temesgen Bulti, Ministerial Secretary of Ethiopian Seventh-day Adventist Church, recalled that history dictates religion has been exerting pressure on politics and vis-a-vis. The pastor asserted that people should refrain from using religion for political purpose. Our program host, Shifarao Lago, sat down with him. Take a look at.
How do you describe Ethiopia's religious tolerance and religious diversity in your words?
Yeah, Ethiopians are religious people, as we all know, and particularly the three faiths of Abrahamic faiths, are practiced in Ethiopia. Islam, Christianity, and even Judaism, though with not many followers. And there are also many other religions, including the local religions. So Ethiopians used to live together for centuries regardless of their religious diversities. So we have to take it very positively.
But as we speak, Pastor, are you concerned that Ethiopians are losing these moral values and religious tolerance?
Yes, I am afraid we're losing it. That religious tolerance, religious values are being eroded to a great extent. We can see that by the recent incidents that had happened in different places in our country. Violences, conflicts, those things show that those values are being eroded. This has not happened just, I'm not talking about the just recent incidents, but there were other incidents in the near past time that I remember where we had churches burned down, where there were conflicts in different parts of the country. So I'm really concerned that that value of tolerance, interreligious tolerance, our religious values are being eroded. However, I do believe that we have not yet come to the point of no return, and there is still hope.
Some say there is a growing tendency of using religion as a pretext only for some kind of gain, especially political one. So have you happened to notice maybe such tendencies, and what are some of your observations in this regard?
Historically, religion and politics influence each other. If you look at the history of any country, including ours, you can see that religion influences politics sometimes, and also politics influences religion. Now the question for those who take their religion seriously is which one should drive which one. So as a believing Christian and as a Seventh-day Adventist member and also a pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I sincerely believe that all our values and principles should be based on the Word of God. That promotes love and tolerance. And if other people also follow those principles of love and tolerance and unity, one should not use religion as a pretext for political gains.
Once again, welcome back. Moving to another domain. Ministry of Education Professor Birhanu Negga met with professional members of the diaspora community in London. He called on professional members of the diaspora to support the ongoing efforts ensuring quality of education in Ethiopia. The minister further urged members of the diaspora community to contribute to the national efforts of rebuilding schools damaged by conflicts in various parts of the country. Likewise, East African countries are striving for regional integration through technical and vocational education and training, TVET sector. This has been highlighted during a regional workshop kicked off today here in Addis Ababa. Sintayo Tamrat reports.
A two-day workshop on the adoption of the East African Qualifications Framework for Technical, Vocational Education and Training under the East Africa Skills for Transformation and Regional Integration project is underway here in Addis Ababa. Addressing the opening session, Kenya's Secretary of State Department for Vocational and Technical Training emphasized the impact of the project is being felt across sub-Saharan Africa.
The East African Skills for Transformation and Regional Integration project, ESTRIP, is a multilateral project whose short-term impact is being felt across sub-Saharan Africa, but is also a long-term impact globally. The development of training programs and commencement of infrastructure development in each country has achieved the skills for transformation component of the ISTRI project. However, as it's been rightly put, the regional integration interventions remains a challenge.
Ethiopian State Minister for Labor and Skills for his part indicated the significance of the project for regional integration through the technical, vocational education and training sector.
A project that is striving to not only create center of excellency with our TVT Polytechnic colleges, but also to push beyond that and ensure a regional integration with our neighboring countries. The Pan-African spirit of this project and the key integration area are very much close to my heart. This project will also have quite a lot of benefits, including exploiting incomes of scale to lower costs of training for individual countries on specialized and industry-certified training programs, facilitating mobility of technology and skilled laborers, promoting peer learning among countries, and also institutions, and sharing good policies and practices.
However, much of this big policy for the three East African countries, Kenya, Ethiopia and Tanzania, can be made when the countries ensure successful implementation of the East African Qualifications Framework for Technical Vocational Education and Training, according to the East African Inter-University Council.
I think it is easy for us to come with this document, but if we don't take some time to have it implemented, it will just be a nice document somewhere on our shelves. It needs to be interpreted in our various higher education institutions. So I would like to challenge us. For us who are in the policy-making institutions, I would like to ask that maybe we do something to make sure that the policy-making wheels do not grind so slowly as to make this document unimplementable or non-viable by the time we implement it. So we should do everything we can to make it grind a little bit faster. And I think we can. I think that is a responsibility that will be taken by those of us who are in the ministries of education, those of us who are in TVET bodies responsible for implementation of policies in our various countries. And I really would like to ask them that they help us in that direction.
The East Africa Skills for Transformation and Regional Integration project, which is funded by the governments of Ethiopia, Kenya and the World Bank, aims to increase access and improve quality of TVET programs offered by the selected regional flagship TVET institutions and promote regional integration. It is also expected to benefit not only the three countries directly involved in the project, but also other countries in the sub-Saharan Africa.
In our business segment, Kalub General Trading has expressed aspiration to be hub for East Africa in top quality cutback bitumen, according to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Cutback bitumen is a petroleum product produced by diluting bitumen and petroleum hydrocarbon. The aim is to decrease the viscosity and to increase the penetration of bitumen on asphalt surface. During the visit to the newly opened cutback bitumen shortage and processing plant in Djibouti, CEO of Kalub General Trading Said Daoud disclosed to the team led by Dr. Mohammed Hassan, Deputy Head of Mission of Ethiopian Embassy in Djibouti, about the company's aspiration to be the #1 supplier of all type of cutback bitumen grades in East Africa. The material will be transported via pipelines directly from the vessels to the plant for storage and processing using state-of-the-art digitally automated machines, according to Mudrik Khalif, General Manager of the company. This would massively reduce unwanted quality compromises and decrease the cost, thereby making it affordable for the buyers. Aimed at reducing the cost of importing barrels from abroad, the company will also open a plant in Dredwa soon, Said Daoud noted. Deputy Head of Mission of Ethiopian Embassy in Djibouti, Dr. Mohammed Hassan, on his part, commending the owner of the company in the effort to address bitumen supply shortage while boosting quality and reducing cost, as well as creating employment opportunity in Djibouti, reiterated the embassy's continued commitment to support the company in its existing and future business, as well as investment endeavors. Next up is our forex exchange rates. Let's take a look. And the African Development Bank Group's board of directors announced that it has approved a $1.5 billion USD facility to help African countries avert a looming food crisis in the continent. In a statement, the bank said African farmers urgently need high-quality seeds and input before the planting season begins in May to immediately boost food supplies. The African Development Bank $1.5 billion USD package would lead to the production of 11 million tons of wheat, 18 million tons of maize, 6 million tons of rice, and 2.5 million tons of soya beans, the statement said. The statement noted that a 5-year ramp-up phase will follow the 2-year African Energy Food Production Facility, with the view to build on previous gains and strengthen self-sufficiency in wheat, maize, and other stable crops, as well as expand access to agricultural fertilizers. In other news, Senegalese president and the current chair of the African Union, Macky Sall, said Sunday he would travel to Russia and Ukraine soon on behalf of the African Union. Macky Sall discussed with the German Chancellor on major gas projects to Europe. Jerusalem Bassa has a detail from African News.
The current chair of the African Union, Senegalese President Macky Sall, said he would travel to Russia and Ukraine soon on behalf of the African Union. President Sall said this on Sunday when he received German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Dhaka. The trip had been due to take place on May 18, but didn't go ahead due to scheduling issues, and new dates have been put forward, Sall said at a joint press conference with visiting German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose trip is focused on the geopolitical consequences of the war in Ukraine.
For Africa, we want peace. We don't want to be aligned with this conflict. Very clearly, even if we condemn the invasion, we are working for there to be a de-escalation, and we are working for there to be a ceasefire, for there to be dialogue, since in any case we will end up sitting around the table.
The Senegalese president also said yet to disclose the possibility of the major gas project to Europe, along with neighboring Mauritania, the Western African nation that hopes to exploit gas and oil deposits found in the Atlantic in recent years.
Nous, Sénégal, en tout cas, a travaillé dans une perspective d'alimenter le marché européen.
Senegal is ready to work with a view to supplying the European market with LNG.
D'abord, ce jugement en exploitation.
But first, we need to be supported in our participation under better conditions than those currently offered by our partners.
Sall has estimated liquid natural gas LNG production will be starting in December 2023 and aspired reaching 10 million tons per year in 2030.
Next up is our weather segment. Let's take a look.